Hi everybody, it's David D'Onofrio with Remax Properties in Jupiter, Florida. I recently put on a couple of new listings, properties for sale here in the area, in Jupiter and North Palm Beach. And what I wanted to address was some common questions that I get from home sellers when I first meet with them and talk to them about the process of selling their home and what they can do to get the most money for the sale of their home. Because my goal as a listing agent is to ensure that my clients walk away from the closing table with as much money as possible. So I don't want them to spend a lot of money on things unless you're either going to get an equitable return on it, meaning that you put in $10,000 and you're going to get $15,000 back when the time comes, when you get your offer and the property's under contract and then sells, or something that's going to significantly increase the general appeal of the property to make it sell quicker. Because there's a holding cost, there's a time cost of holding on to a property and having the listing sit on the market. You're going to have your extra taxes, utilities, just general maintenance costs, association dues if you're in a place with an HOA or a condo association. And also it's been statistically proven that the longer that a property sits on the market, the lower the actual overall sales price is, meaning there's no harm in it selling right off the bat if your pricing is good and you get the number that you want. If it takes longer, it's been shown that the overall sales price is going to be lower than it would if you priced it correctly and sold it right away. So these are my recommendations to my clients in terms of what they should work on. First thing to keep in mind is that you want it to show as good as possible. You want the agent working with the buyer to be able to go around the home comfortably without dodging around things. You want them to be able to walk a nice clean flow pattern in terms of actually touring and walking around the property. You want it to have a great first impression, meaning you want the walkway, the front door, these kind of things to be very clean and to not have anything that's going to catch someone's eye and be a turnoff that might skew from the actual overall value of the property. So little things that could make the difference between you getting that last 5% on your sales price. On the inside, if it requires it, if the rooms are dark, if they have darker colored paint, if there's scuff marks on the walls, a little bit of fresh paint goes a long way. If there's carpets that are really dirty, pet stains, anything that retains a smell, that's a cost-effective thing to change. I do not recommend giant overhauls. You don't have to redo your whole kitchen. You don't have to redo your whole bath. Save that expense. The person who's buying the home would rather pay an appropriate price, and if they're not afraid of doing the work, then they're going to go ahead and do those renovations anyway and get to pick out the styles and the colors and the materials that they prefer. And that's actually preferable to a buyer than to buy a home that's been completely remodeled if everything is not exactly the way they want it to be. So don't do any major overhauls on your property. Just price it appropriately for the condition that it's in relative to the other properties that are for sale and have recently sold in the current market. So for example, I mentioned the impression of the showing. So if you have a walkway and you have one of those giant hibiscus bushes that's blocking the walkway and people have to dodge around it, you want to trim that back. Good landscaping, curb appeal is important. So definitely keep your yard maintained. Even if you've already moved out, keep the yard service for a month or two until the property sells. The front door is very important. If the front door, make sure that looks clean and crisp. Make sure that the doorknobs work. If you have a doorbell that doesn't have like the wires sticking out, that it's been properly maintained, and that all looks really nice. You want the showing to go as smoothly as possible. They walk up, the house looks nice. They open the door opens, it's not squeaky, it doesn't fight them, you don't have to push. That the sliders in the back door slide easily, and the agent doesn't have to go like this and lean into it to move the door. You don't want that to happen. And just keep it nice and tidy. My recommendation is if you've already moved out and there's just a couple of items left in the property, remove them. Just leave it empty. That's the best way to allow the buyer to imprint themselves on the property. However, if you're still living in the property and it's occupied and you still have all your furniture and stuff in there, then what I recommend that you do is just to keep it tidy. If you have tons of personal effects, for example, if you have a wall that's full of your collectible plates, for example, if that's not someone's impression of how they can picture the house, I would take stuff like that down. You don't have to pack up everything. You live there. You don't have to put away all the things that you use on a daily basis. But just remember that you're trying to show your property as something that someone else is going to be able to live in, and they're going to make it the way that they use it, the way that they would use their space, and to make it their own home. So try not to put anything that's way too personal out there, or at least have a box nearby so you can take some stuff down when you find out that you have your showing coming up, and you can always put it back up afterwards. So those are my recommendations. So keep your renovations simple, to a minimum, and always keep in mind that your goal when you're doing renovations for the purpose of selling your home is to maximize the value that you get out of it when you sell it. Keep your overhead low and only fix those things that might greatly improve the way that your property shows when an agent is bringing a buyer through your property. Thank you very much. I hope that was a helpful tip. If you have any other questions that are similar to that, you want some tips on good practices for selling your home, if you're a buyer looking for a home in the area, however I can help you, feel free to reach out to me. Again, it's David D'Onofrio with Remax Properties in Jupiter, and you can reach me at 561-301-9345 or follow us on Facebook. My Facebook business page is Jupiter, Florida Real Estate. Jupiter, Florida Real Estate on Facebook.com. I'll post my new listings, sometimes going up on the MLS so you can get first crack at them. And again, I post videos like this with lots of great tips and information and news and updates for our local market here in northern Palm Beach County.